one-point game. Davis cuts, gets the pass, layup is good, and the Lakers take the lead on the drive. Pull-up jumper, it's good. Tobias Harris sinks it with 2.4 remaining. Davis struggling, throws it up in the basket, and it's over. Tobias Harris puts in the game winner.
All right, a lot to get into with this game, guys. Last night, LA versus Philly, best record in the West versus best record in the East. Philly did get the best of them at home. Max's MVP pick, Joel Embiid, not happy with a bunch of the calls, thought LeBron should have been ejected. Stephen A., I'll start with you. What did the Sixers prove to you by beating LA?
Well, it proved to me that they could possibly win it all if Ben Simmons would shoot jump shots. I think that's the glaring weakness in it all. The last play of the game, Max, essentially, they pulled the LeBron. Doc Rivers called the beautiful, beautiful play because they bring the ball up the court, and then Tobias Harris picks off Caruso, so Caruso has to ultimately guard him because LeBron was on Tobias Harris, okay? But you forced the switch, so you had Caruso on Tobias Harris, and then obviously Tobias Harris took him and sealed the deal with under 2 seconds left, and that's how they won this game because that's something that LeBron James usually does. He finds the mismatch, he takes advantage of it, either for himself or another player on his team, and that's what happened. But Doc Rivers, pulled that on him last night. Having said all of that, I just think that when you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, you look at this kid Maxey, you look at Tobias Harris, the way that he's been balling, you look at Joel Embiid, the way that he's been balling, along with Seth Curry, who I can't say enough about because he's really, really ascending before our very eyes. What it comes down to is Ben Simmons being on the court and being a threat offensively. If he's a threat, if he's somebody that you have to pay attention to, it's going to free up shot opportunities for other people, including Embiid, along with others. If you don't do that, you essentially get to play 4-on-5 basketball against the Philadelphia 76ers, particularly with Ben Simmons not being a perimeter threat. We know he can take the ball to the hole and finish at the basket and score there. But when you can score from the perimeter, it opens the floodgates for you offensively. And that's what Ben Simmons needs to do. I don't care what anybody says. Speaking to Daryl Morey last night, he acknowledged it to some degree. Obviously, Doc Rivers thinks otherwise. You have to, in my estimation, be able to shoot jump shots in order for you to win the chip if you are the Philadelphia 76ers. You need Ben Simmons to be able to be some kind of threat to keep opposing defenses honest. If not, it will come back to bite you when it really counts. Not during the regular season, not during the early rounds of the playoffs, but eventually it will come back to bite you against the elite teams.
First of all, you're right about Ben Simmons. If Ben Simmons could really shoot, Stephen A., he'd be an MVP candidate for real.
Easy.
And I might not be taking the Nets to get out of the East. That's number one. Number two, you're right about Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers, look, why is Rondo a playoff player? Why is there playoff Rondo? Regular season, boy, he's not that good anymore. Playoffs, oh my God, he's an all-star. Because playoffs is coach's time, right? The guys who know all the plays. There's more intensity. There's more kind of designed plays. The guys who know all the plays have an advantage, like a brilliant guy like Rondo, who knows everything. He's like a coach on the floor. Doc Rivers has like the play out of the timeout that gets you the bucket. Of course, you need the horses, but the coach that can design the play that gets you the bucket out of the timeout, that team has a big advantage in the playoffs. The Sixers have that guy now. So you're right about that, too. But that's not what I peel from the game. What I peel from the game is this. What is this league going to do with Joel Embiid? In an era that absolutely goes against a guy of Embiid's size, right? And because he also has classic back-to-the-basket center skills. Those guys are almost never the best player in the game or one of the best players in the game or really in the MVP conversation. When was the last time it happened? But Embiid, because he has those skills and also all kinds of other skills, he's still my MVP after that game. He was giving AD the business. Anthony Davis, the business. When you looked on paper heading into this game, Anthony Davis and Marc Gasol, well, you can't really ask for more going up against Embiid, and they couldn't do anything with him. So what did they do? LeBron James, who is not a dirty player, had a dirty play. Both hands on Embiid in the air, pushed him. And by the way, Marc Gasol behind him didn't give him anywhere to land and actually gave him a little tap in the back. Embiid came down so hard, Stephen A., that when they replayed it with sound, it was hard to watch and listen to. That's a big man coming down a long way on a bad back. And what happened after that play? The Lakers started making a furious comeback. Embiid was not the same. He had that one nice move on AD where he scored, but he really wasn't the same. They kind of took him out of the game with that play. In the end, though, what I take away is Embiid so far is the MVP, and the Sixers won the game. Yes, they were at home. Yes, they had a big lead that got whittled away once it looked like Embiid's back really started to stiffen, right, to tighten. But they still managed to hang on in a game where when you were watching, let's admit it, it was like, Lakers going to win this. Well, they're coming back. They're showing them what a champion is. And the Sixers held on.
Well, first of all, I've seen worse in terms of the fall. I've seen worse. It was kind of nasty, but I've seen much, much worse. Let's put that in perspective, number one. Number two, however, having said all of that, I would understand your sensitivity to such issues, Max. Anybody that has a back issue, you are definitely sensitive to those things. I definitely understand that, Max. I understand where you're coming from and you know, Mr. Elliptical. I understand. But in the end, here's what the deal is, Max. When you sit up there and you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, you look at, Joel Embiid, here's what I would say to buffer your argument about him. Right now, Max, when are you and I going to sit here? Because we don't have time today with this Deshaun Watson news, but when are you and I going to sit here, rhetorically speaking, and have a discussion about whether or not Joel Embiid is going to overtake Giannis? Because I got news for you. Giannis in an open court is a monster. We get that. 6'11", with his wingspan, his agility, his athleticism, his hops, all of that is true. But he's not the true big that Joel Embiid is. And now that Doc Rivers got him doing what I begged Brett Brown to do for 3 years, which was get Joel Embiid's big butt behind in the post and let him be a man amongst boys. Now that Doc Rivers got him doing more of that, and Joel Embiid being able to shoot perimeter shots, particularly in a half-court setting, he's got a chance right now to overtake Giannis as the elite big in the Eastern Conference.
That's a major point. I hate to gloss over it, but we got to go straight to bump here, guys. We've got plenty more on this we'll discuss. And, of course, the big story. Good morning and welcome into First Take. We have breaking news. This just in, according to our Adam Schefter, Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson has officially requested a trade. This comes on the heels of Houston hiring a new head coach yesterday, David Culley, who is formerly with the Baltimore Ravens. Stephen A., Max, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's just dive right into this, fellas. And Stephen A., I'll start with you. What do you think of Deshaun Watson officially saying that he wants out and putting it on the record?
I think it's long overdue. I would have liked to have seen him do it earlier, but this is good enough. We understand it. From the days of Bill O'Brien and some of the decisions that he's made, particularly the latest, most egregious thing was letting go of DeAndre Hopkins. Enough was enough. And after this horrid season that transpired, there's no way around it. And then when you look at the fact that this is a guy that was in tears and incredibly grateful and thankful to the organization for the money that they gave him, even though Max's points are very, very valid in terms of he was going to get that money anywhere because he earned it. The bottom line is he expressed graciousness and gratitude. Yet at the end of the season, it was a complete 180 and he wants nothing to do with the organization. That tells me that they did something wrong, that they betrayed him in some kind of manner. When you take that into account, along with the fact that Adam Schefter reported this is the most unattractive job, that there are a bevy of individuals that didn't even want the job, in all likelihood, even an Eric Bieniemy did not want that job. You have to take that into consideration. And now we hear the news of David Culley, a guy that's 65 years of age, getting a job for the first time as a head coach in the National Football League. Has been associated with the National Football League for 27 years. I'm very, very happy for him. Very happy for him. Very happy that a black man got a head coaching job opportunity. But the flip side to that is that he's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never been a defensive coordinator. And to put him in that position, essentially what you did was you set him up to fail because you've alienated the star quarterback. Clearly, the organization is going to be moving in a different direction because there's nothing but mayhem and everything else going on there right now. You bring him in, you've set him up to fail because I don't see any way how he can succeed in the immediate future. And that's usually the kind of job a black man gets. And unfortunately, that's the situation here with Houston. But I'm still happy for him. And I'm happy that Deshaun Watson decided to make his feelings official in that regard. I have no problem with his position whatsoever because the Houston Texans appear to deserve this.
My reaction is this. We are about to see the biggest trade in NFL history, by far. You know, you always think of Herschel Walker because back then running backs were this enormous deal, but not like quarterbacks are today. And Herschel Walker was traded for so much, the Dallas Cowboys had a dynasty after that.